You count them. Not because you have a watch, they took the watch along with everything else in your pockets. In a room that smelled of salt and whetstone, but because counting is the last voluntary thing you do on the crossing. And some part of you understands this without being told. 40 minutes. The North Sea in November. The kind of cold that doesn't come from outside but seems to generate itself from somewhere inside the air. You have heard about Azkaban your entire life. Everyone has. It exists in the wizarding world the way certain ideas exist, not as a place you will ever go, but as a coordinate that gives the map its shape. The worst place. The place from which people do not return as themselves. You have nodded along to this, at dinner tables and in ministry corridors, with the particular ease of someone discussing a disaster happening elsewhere. Now, the fortress appears through the fog. It is larger than you expected and less dramatic. Stone, water, a structure. That has no interest in being seen as threatening because it has never needed to be. It simply exists, and its existence is enough. And the boat moves toward it with the indifferent momentum of a thing that has made this crossing thousands of times before. They process you without looking at you. A number is assigned. A cell number, not a name. This distinction will matter more as time passes. The robe they give you is grey and slightly damp and smells of the person who wore it before. And you decide not to think about the person who wore it before. You are walked down a corridor. A door opens. A door closes. The cell is 4 meters by 3. You measure it in your first hour, heel to toe, twice to confirm the number. There is a cot. There is a bucket. There is a window. Not a window, exactly. More a vertical absence in the stone about the width of your hand, through which the sky is visible in a narrow strip. Right now the sky is grey. You will learn that the sky here is almost always grey. On the days it isn't, the blue seems wrong, like a colour applied incorrectly to the wrong surface. You sit on the cot and you think, there has been a mistake. This is the first thought, the automatic thought, the thought that arrives before you've even processed your surroundings. There has been a mistake and it will be corrected. You have people. You have a barrister. You have a life outside this cell, a house, a job, someone who will notice that you are gone, and all of these. Things are real and solid and they will pull you back out of here the way a rope pulls someone from water. You believe this completely. This is the last day you believe it completely. The first Dementor passes your cell at night. You don't see it, you feel it, the way you'd feel a drop in pressure, a change in the quality of the air. Something that was already cold becomes colder in a different way. Enter your mind, without your permission, surfaces a memory, a morning when you were 9 years old, a garden, your grandmother's voice. The memory is vivid and specific, and then it is slightly less vivid, like a photograph left too long in light, just slightly. Just enough to notice. You pull the robe around your shoulders. You count the stones in the ceiling. You wait for morning, still believing morning will change something. You have stopped trying to remember happiness. Not as a decision, as an adaptation. You have contracted, become smaller, and within the smaller version of yourself, you have begun to understand what this place is actually made of. The worst part is not the cold. By the end of the first month, the cold is simply the air, and the air is simply where you live. The worst part is the accuracy, the Dementor's surface, what is already there. Every memory they amplify is real. The argument never resolved. The moment you chose wrong and knew it while choosing. The face of someone watching you become someone they didn't recognize, you cannot say, this isn't real. It is real. It happened. And now it is all that is left of you. There is a man across the corridor. He sits on the floor, back against the wall, knees to his chest, eyes fixed on nothing. He eats. He breathes. Whether he is present in any other sense, you cannot determine from a slot in a door. You look at him and look away and recite. Something, anything, the names of every professor you ever had, the layout of your childhood home. Not because it comforts you, the warmth is mostly gone, but because the act of recitation is still yours. The Dementors take feeling. They do not take sequence. And sequence, right now, is identity. You have a system. Morning, walk the cell, heel to toe, eyes closed. Then the recitation, names, sequences, neutral facts, things that are true regardless of how you feel. The boiling point of water, the order of the planets. You visit this library every morning not because the facts matter, but because visiting them is a choice. And choices are the last form of autonomy available here. The woman to your right is named Myra, because a guard said it once, carelessly. You still listen to her recite names at night, the same names, the same order. You understand now that they are people she loves, her anchor made of something warmer than yours. The man across the corridor no longer appears in his slot. You don't ask what happened. You already know the answer wouldn't help you. The deal you make with yourself at month 6 is simple. You will not become him, not optimism. Not belief that release is coming, just the one refusal you have left. What you have not lost, and this surprises you, is anger, old anger, specific and useless and vivid. You have decided the anger stays because it needs no warmth to survive. Joy feeds on something. Anger feeds on itself. You are not proud of this. You are also not letting it go. It happens on an ordinary day. In the middle of your morning recitation, you arrive at the memory of an argument with someone you loved. You remember the room, the time of day, the exact words. What you cannot find is why you were angry. The anger was there. You know it was there. But the feeling that generated it is gone. Not faded. Gone, like a room you can describe in detail but cannot enter. You sit on the cot. You don't move for a long time. This is what breaks people in Azkaban. Not the dramatic collapse, not the scream in the night. It is this, the morning you reach for something real inside yourself and find only the outline where it used to be. It left without asking. During some patrol, while you were sleeping or reciting, IT simply went, Myra is still reciting her names. Her voice is quieter, but the sequence is intact. She is still in there, holding the list. You think about what it is costing her. You add the rhythm of her names to your own recitation. Not the names themselves, that would feel like theft. Just the shape of the sequence, the sound of something that belongs to someone who is still fighting to remain. It is the first thing in months that belongs to someone else. You don't know yet if that is enough. The door opens on a Thursday. There is a long moment where you don't move. Your body has organized itself around the assumption of a closed door, and the open one doesn't immediately compute as something that applies to you. Then you walk out. The light outside is wrong. Too much of IT coming from too many directions. Someone across a table uses your name, your actual name, and it sounds like a word in a language you used to speak fluently. You sign forms. They return the watch from your pocket. It stopped sometime during the first week. What you discover in the weeks after is that the world did not pause. People moved on. Forgave things you weren't there to be forgiven for. You slot back into your life the way a piece of furniture returns to a room. The outline fits, but the light is different, and everyone can see it. The feelings the Dementors took do not come back. You assumed they would, that outside the walls, something would thaw. Some does, enough to remind you of what the rest was like. But the full inventory does not return. You are functional. You work. You have moments that are not bad. But the thing Azkaban takes is not your mind. It is the emotional weight of your own life. The sense that what happened to you happened to someone it mattered to. You are out. You are still trying to remember what that used to feel like from the inside.